Dear students, how are you all? I hope you're doing great and working hard on your subjects. Our lesson today is about modals. I think you have heard of this term before. Modals are words that come before verbs, and they could have different meanings. You can find this lesson on pages 128, 129 in the student book. And as you can see here, the uses are already organized for you in a table, the uses and the models that work for them. This is a way that you could study the models. Another way is the way that I have done for you, which is categorizing the models and mentioning the reasons. One example of our first model is can. Can has three uses. Number one use is the ability. An example of this is a sentence, I can fly high. Please know that for this use, you can also use the modal could to speak in the past. For example, you could say, I could fly high back in the past and I can't any longer. Another use for can is request. An example of this is, can you pass the salt? The third example of can or use is permission. In case somebody is allowing somebody else to do something. An example of this is, you can skip this page if you are tired. Now let's go to the modal 2, which is can't, the negative form of can. One use for it is the ability, same as can. An example of this is, I can't access the website. Another use of it is certain. And as you can see here, another modal we could have certain as the use of it is couldn't. An example of this is, he can't be a librarian, he is wearing a lab coat. The third use is when you're not allowed to do something, we use the modal can't. You can't go outside now, it is dark. Our third modal is could. We have four uses for the modal could. Use number one is when something is likely to happen. An example of this is, he could be her cousin. Another use is request. When you ask somebody to do something for you, you say, could you bring the pen? The third use is advice and suggestion. When you say, you could paint it yellow, you're suggesting to somebody to paint it yellow. And the fourth use is criticism and regret. This is most of the time followed by have plus past participle, which is verb 3. And we use this one to speak in the past. An example of this is, she could have saved more money. Means she regrets not saving any more money now. Now let's get to the fourth modal, which is will. In the first use, we could say will or went in case we're certain or not certain of something. An example of this is, I will call you tomorrow. In the second use, we could use will or would to request something. An example of this is when you ask somebody to, will you pass the salt? Our fifth modal is must, and the two uses of it are, when we're certain of something, we say, hi, you must be Ali. Second use for must or mustn't is when something is necessary to be done. You must finish your homework now. And let's go to our sixth modal or modals. We have shall or shan't, which is shall not. A use of these two modals is when you're certain of something. An example of this is, they are strong enough. They shall succeed. Let's go to should now. We have three main uses for should. Number one is when something is likely to happen. For example, you say, 80,000 JDs should be enough to buy a house. Second use is when you have should or shouldn't to advise somebody or make a suggestion, saying, you should ask an expert. The third use is for should or shouldn't, used to criticize or regret doing something in the past. Again, this specific use is used to talk in the past time. So we have should or shouldn't plus have plus past participle, which is the verb 3. An example of this is you should have listened to me. Means you did something wrong because you didn't listen to me, and I'm criticizing you now, or you should be regretting it now. Let's go to O2. Again, when something is likely to happen. An example is 5 minutes ought to be enough time. So 5 minutes are probable enough time. Or ought to or ought not to, used to make an advice or a suggestion, saying you ought not to spend a lot of time watching TV. Now we have might, again, advice and suggestion. You might eat pizza. Or criticism and regret plus have plus verb 3, again in the past, saying you might have done it better. Means you didn't do it good. You might have done it better. Now, we have here 4 modals actually in this one. We have may or might, may not or might not. Of course, when we say may not is the opposite of it. Might not is the opposite of might here. The uses or the 2 uses for these 4 modals are when something is possible or not possible to happen, saying you may use a PowerPoint show for help, or when we use them for permission or when something is not allowed to be done, saying you might not leave now. Means you're not allowed to leave now. So here we got to the end of our lesson. I hope you understood it well. Again, this is one way of making things clear or summarizing things. Another way is referring to the book, to the tables that you have. And I'm gonna be providing you the separate photos or detailed photos of each and every model so you can understand them better and refer them whenever you like. Have a good day.